What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and this is the greatest time of the year for strength sports, World's Strongest Man 2021.
Ciao, homie.
So today we're going to be talking about the 2021 World's Strongest Man predictions, specifically the World's Strongest Man 2021 qualifiers predictions and what the World's Strongest Man 2021 groups are. We'll also talk about the World's Strongest Man 2021 events and how they play out for each of the groups. So many of you have seen my recent prediction video with Big Loz where he walks through my predictions, gives his advice on what he thinks the qualifier prediction should be for all of the group qualifiers. And so I've taken to heart his advice and his many years of experience and insight and put them together with my prep analysis to come to the conclusion that not all guys show their best in prep, and some guys show perhaps more than their best in prep. So it's valuable evidence, but only part of the evidence. And so I decided to make a few tweaks. I didn't change to everything Big Loz said. I had to hold true to some of my instincts, but I did make some changes for my groups 1 and 2 predictions. So what you're seeing here is what I had before, which did cause some expected uproar. I didn't have Brian going through to the finals. And so here's the layout I had. I had Maxime Boudreau and Ivar Smokstelis going through group 1, and Evan Singleton and Trey Mitchell going through group 2. So now that I've made my tweaks, what are the differences and why? Well, here are the differences. As you might expect, after a reanalysis, I have Brian Shaw going through, not by a wide margin, though. So here's how I came across that. I felt that I did give Brian not enough credit on the overhead medley. I do feel and always have felt that he is the best circus dumbbell presser in the world after Alexei Novikov. And that was only part of the medley. I maybe wasn't giving him enough credit on the other two components of the overhead medley, the circus barbell and the axle. So I'm now giving Brian 4 points there instead of what we had previously, which gives him second place there. So let's kind of go through the breakdown here. Group 1, frame loading medley. I have Maxime winning that. 4 points to Ivar Smokstelis for second, 3 to Brian there. I think Brian is great with the frame, not as fast in the loading as the other two guys. And that's kind of where we were before. 2 points to Travis, 1 to Graham. So very similar to what we had going on previously there. Then in terms of the squat, previously I had Graham winning that, and then Maxime, Ivars, and Brian tied for second on the squat, followed by Travis Ortmeyer. So now on the squat, we have Ivar Smokstelis winning the squat, which actually goes along with perhaps Liz's prediction more than Loz. I heard that she feels Ivar's is very good with the squat, and I agree. I'm going to go along with that. And I now have Brian and Maxime tying for second on the squat, so I'm giving Brian some more credit here than I did before. And then Travis and Graham tied for last after that. I had given Graham Hicks more credit. Big Loz has told me just from personal experience, Graham doesn't like the axle bar squat so much, and information I never would have known on my own, but with Loz's insight there, I'll go ahead and make that adjustment. Fingal's Fingers, I have Brian winning Fingal's Fingers, followed by Travis. So Travis was hard to give credit the first time around because I saw him prepping with a back injury and basically got the 1 rep done because he just has so much motivation to gut it out and got it done. But Loz was saying that, he felt like he's seen Travis do well with fingers in the past. And, he does have the right size and kind of motivation to do it. So I'll go ahead and give him second place there. 4 points to Travis Ortmeyer, 3 to Maxime, who I did see prepping with a heavy finger and haven't seen him do it in competition. So that's the only evidence I have to go on there. Loz also said he had never seen Max perform at a competition with fingers, but I'm going to give him 3 points, 2 to Ivars, and then 1 to Graham Hicks for the Fingal's Fingers. Going to the overhead medley, and again, this is where I mentioned I bumped up the credit I was giving Brian. So previously on the overhead medley, I had given Brian only 2 points, again, feeling like he's going to dominate the dumbbell portion, but not necessarily the other two. So we've adjusted that and adjusted Graham down on that for the same sort of logic that I mentioned about Loz's insights with Graham and the axle and that sort of thing. So I have Maxime winning the overhead medley, Brian second with 4 points. That can actually go either way. Ivars with 3, Graham with 2 points, and Travis Ortmeyer with 1. Going to the pickaxe hold, again, Loz made an interesting comment here when we talked together about Travis being maybe just crazy enough to hang on to that thing forever. That's enough to convince me. I mean, pickaxe is so hard to predict. I talked with Loz about the fact that I went with kind of body shape and size and length of arms and shoulders when I picked this, but he told me about competitions where he's, beaten Graham in the past, even though Graham looks like he has the perfect body composition to do this. So I had to knock Graham Hicks down here a bit as well. So for all of you who are saying I have a North American bias, please keep in mind that although my previous results might have looked that way, Loz is the one who kind of convinced me to come down in a few areas on Graham Hicks here. So Travis Ortmeyer, we're going to give him the 5 points here. 4 to Ivars, 3 to Brian Shaw. So I have Brian right about where I had him before. 2 to Maxime and 1 to Graham Hicks. So where that leaves us is a tie with Brian and Maxime in the top position now. So Brian way up from where I had him last time, tied for the top position, which I believe would go to a count back on the last performed event, which is the pickaxe. And I have Brian outperforming Max in the pickaxe, which means Brian wins the group outright. And the stone off becomes between Max and Ivars. And I think Max wins that stone off because of the incredible improvements he's been making on stone. So Brian Shaw, Maxime Boudreau go through from group 1. Now, what have been my corrections to group 2? Let's take a look. So again, previously I had Tom Stoltman, surprisingly to many, pretty low here. I had Evan Singleton, Johnny Hansen, Trey Mitchell, Tom Stoltman, Mark Felix. So when Loz and I were talking, he brought up some interesting points here as well. One, from what he's seen with his keen eagle eye of Tom's training, he's been really doing very well in a variety of different areas, better than his brother in various areas, and seems to be focused this time. He said Tom can be sometimes focused and sometimes not. He seems like he's really focused and determined this time and training in the right way and putting up some big weights. So we'll end up moving Tom up in a few of these areas, which you'll see soon. And one comment I'd like to make is both for Brian and for Tom, if I had them getting through these qualifiers, I think they're both near the very top in the final events. I think both of them are suited much better to those events than these. However, you'll see how they both go through this time. So I had this particular set. And then Loz also mentioned that Johnny Hansen, although being an extremely good strongman, a great strongman, has been great really in his own country so far and hasn't performed up to expectations in previous World's Strongest Man contests. So I had to take that into consideration as well. So how have these point standings changed, and does that affect Tom Stoltman going through? So the quick answer is yes. I still have Evan Singleton winning the group, but I have Tom Stoltman all the way up to second now, and Tom Stoltman beats anybody in the stone off, so that's going to go his way. Trey Mitchell is probably the biggest threat to Tom in the stone off, but I think Tom still takes it. So how does this all break down? Well, I feel like in the frame loading medley, from what I've seen, and again, Loz makes a good point about prep footage being, showing some guys kind of best stuff and other guys not peaking.
And now a word about Go Hard Labs. Are you looking for a pre-workout that doesn't make your skin crawl but still gives you some solid energy for your workouts, or even just to get through your day when you're exhausted like I am from making all my YouTube content? You should check out Go Hard Labs and use my code MBSM10 to get 10% off of your purchase. And now back to today's topic.
So Evan just looks incredibly fast on this type of medley. I have to give him the 5 points there, but I think Tom's right behind him with 4 points. So that'll be an adjustment from my previous determination. Tom could even win this event, so that 5-4 can transpose either way. Evan just looks extremely determined this time around, although he went out with that bicep injury last time around at World's Strongest Man, so he doesn't have Tom's track record of excellence. So it's hard to kind of determine that Evan's definitely gonna do well. I have him doing very well though, both here and in the finals. And again, that could fall apart given the vast experience not being there, like a person like Brian Shaw or JF Caron, for example. But I'll just tell you how I see it. So I have Tom Stoltman with 4 points there, 3 for Mark Felix. As Big Loz was telling me, he knows Mark to be a speedy guy and can really move. So I'll give him the 3 points there. 2 for Johnny Hansen and 1 for Trey Mitchell, who's notorious for having issues with grip. Has been working on it, but I don't know if he surpasses this field in that event. Deadlift, I've changed around a bit. as well. So I have Trey and Mark tying for the top position, and then Tom Stoltman and Evan tying for the position right below that, with Johnny Hansen coming in at the bottom of the pack for deadlift. And then moving on to the train pull. Train pull, I have to give Johnny Hansen still the top position because I've seen him training it quite a bit with seemingly looks like pretty heavy trucks. Then I have Evan coming in second place with 4. Tom Stoltman, with his size and body and length and ability to kind of lean over and make cover lots of distance with one sort of pull, could win this event. I just haven't seen him do it before. And as Loz said, if he shows up with a focused mindset, he could win an event like this. But I'm going to give him the 3 points for now, and then move on to 2 points for Trey Mitchell here and 1 for Mark Felix. So that's how I see the train pull breaking down. 3 points to Tom Stoltman there, although it could be 4 or 5 as well. It's not like he's being blown away by the other 2 guys. I think that can go many different ways. Then in the overhead medley, Loz was saying that he's seen Tom do some great stuff training this, and so I'll go ahead and bump him up there as well. Again, with the premise that guys don't necessarily peak during their prep footage. So I have Evan Singleton still winning this overhead medley based on a bunch of footage I've seen. Again, there's no vast World's Strongest Man years of experience to go by or previous contests to go by. So I have to go by what I'm seeing. And he looks really strong, especially in the videos with Brian Shaw. And I know they mentioned they weren't doing contest weight, but he looked very, very strong with overhead. So I'm going to give Evan the 5 points. Tom right behind him with 4. 3 points to Trey Mitchell because of the discussion Loz and I had where I kind of not challenged him, but I asked, do you really think Tom's a better presser than Trey? And he said he's better with transitions in a medley like this. So we'll give Tom the benefit of the doubt, 4 points, 2 to Johnny Hansen and 1 to Mark Felix. And then we go to the pickaxe hold. And I did get some information that Tom had improved his pickaxe hold from the video I previously saw. So right now I have Evan winning it with Mark Felix 4, because as Big Loz said, he has experience seeing Mark being very good at front holds. And so I got to keep kind of those 2 there. 3 points to Trey. I have 2 to Tom and 1 to Johnny Hansen. If Tom has been doing better lately, even better than his brother Luke, I heard, then he may jump up here quite a bit. So let's say I gave him 4 points instead of 2. That would put his total at 17.5. He'd still be second here. He would have to get the 5 points and Evan get 2 for Evan to come down to 18.5 and Tom to go up to, then they'd be tied. And it would go back to, so worst case scenario, Evan and Tom are still tied for first place and it doesn't change anything. So that's what I have for groups 1 and 2. Those are my new predictions revised after getting some insight and education from Big Loz of Big Loz Official. Definitely check him out if for some reason you aren't subscribed there yet. Go over there. And so again, it's Brian Shaw, Maxime Boudreau, Evan Singleton, and Tom Stoltman going through. Stay tuned for my Group 3 predictions coming up soon. And of course, as always, until next time, ciao, homie.
So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.